I've made almost every mistake that you can make when it comes to money. And about 4 years ago, I set out on a journey to change that and improve my financial life. In that time, I've read dozens of books and learned that a huge part of being good with money is about the things we do not do. I'm going to share 12 things I've intentionally stopped doing since I've been on my financial literacy journey. Not doing these things has allowed me to feel financial peace, security, and safe enough to take risks because I know I will be able to win with money. Number one, I never keep my spending and saving money in the same bank account. One of the biggest mistakes I made when I first started making money was using one bank account for everything. I used to convince myself that I could manage it and didn't want the headache of a second account. But then I'd go out and drink, or I'd get invited to a friend's event and dip into my savings without second thought. It was so easy to access that I had no reason not to. I had a difficult time building up a savings amount, and the real reason for the problem was that I already had a relationship with this account, and that relationship was withdrawing, not saving. Now I keep separate accounts. One for saving, one for spending, one for obvious big expenses, and an investment account that's also a separate thing, but worth mentioning. Number two, I don't allow myself to keep fantasizing about something I can't afford. When I say can't afford, I mean something that's out of my budget, but I would be able to buy it if I were to put it on a credit card. Not a Ferrari, because my hand would fall off before I swipe my card enough to afford one. So if I'm fantasizing about that, I just let myself enjoy the moment. But when I wanted to get a new computer, and the highest priced version of the computer I wanted was just a couple $100 outside of my budget, enough that I could pay for it if I used my credit card and paid it back over a couple of months. 18 trillion operations per second. I had to make myself stop fantasizing about how great the upgrades would be, because I'm human as well. I'd have bought it and for months have debt, interest, and lose money to the bank that I didn't need to. Number three, I never spend money without a written plan. When I learned to budget, it's like I found a cheat code for having more money. I do my best to budget before my salary or payment reaches my bank account. And if I don't get the time to, I just don't touch the money until I make the budget. I always wait on the budget before I spend anything from it, because I found that unmanaged money always finds very clever ways to spend itself. Number four, I don't assume any money math I do will work out perfectly. I'm curious to know if this happens to you also. In the past, anytime I set a budget amount or a target spending amount for an activity or event, and the cost of things for that went over the amount I set, my brain would almost stop me from looking at how much money was leaving once it got too much over budget. And I just think to myself that I'll take the hit now and figure it out later. Then I'd start spending without care and without acknowledging that I even had a budget to begin with. And I can tell you from personal experience, that is a very bad strategy. Now I always add a buffer of an extra 20% to anything I'm doing, because that allows me to stay on track with the budget even when I go over. For example, I recently moved and I budgeted for my moving cost plus 20%. And as it goes, anything that could go wrong did. I ended up moving to a different apartment than I planned because of some last minute hidden fees that I thought wasn't worth it for what I was getting. The furniture and transportation costed me a bit more than I budgeted for because of some unexpected cost, and I also had some issues with the moving van. And having that extra 20% margin for every single item gave me enough money to cover my cost and not go into the shutdown mode that usually happens when money is flying away. That extra acted as a cushion for the things that I did, because even though I did have to dip into my savings, some items costed less than I budgeted for with the margin, and I was able to use that money to basically soften the blow I would have taken if I didn't have that 20% margin. I never go grocery shopping on an empty stomach. This one is some light-hearted grandmom advice, but still very true. If you ever wanted to see a grocery cart filled with just the wildest combination of unhealthy crap. Follow me into a grocery store when I'm hungry. It's like my brain just doesn't work the same anymore. Now I avoid shopping on an empty stomach. I'll buy a little snack first, eat that, and then go back in and shop, and it saves me more money overall. Number 6. I don't ignore late fees and interest. I used to miss a bill or a credit card payment and just tell myself that I'd pay it the next month after I got paid, since I'd have the money to. And that would then allow me to miss payments to stay home and watch a movie or go out and spend the bill money at an event. But what I didn't know was that it was costing me a lot more than just the late payment fee. It was costing me money I didn't need to spend the next month, an investment opportunity, and the peace of mind of living without outstanding bills. Now I set a date on the calendar to deal with all my bills together, so I don't have to worry about missing one and paying late fees. And if I were in a situation where I could automate everything, I'd just do that. Number 7. I don't make purchases without considering the back-end cost. I'm planning a trip out to a cabin with some friends right now, and we all came together, decided on a budget, found a maximum number, and we set that aside. When we came together to talk about what places we'd like to stay, I was really surprised to find out how the planning was taking place. People were maxing out the budget completely on just the obvious costs: the vehicle, the housing, the food, and the gas. But if you've ever taken a trip before, you know that things always inevitably come up. When we added in the cost of minor purchases that we'll inevitably have to make, since it's not a luxury stay, the price tag on where we could stay dropped a fair amount. And I do this with every big purchase that I'm making, or everything that has long-term recurring payments, because the price tag of most things in my experience isn't actually the cost of those things. Number 8. I don't ignore investing and trying to earn more. Investing here simply means putting money into something I expect to give me a higher return later on, not only the stock market. For my wealth building plan, I've paused putting money into my investment account so that I can invest into myself by paying for courses, business costs, services to make content, equipment, etc. Because I expect these to give me a higher yearly earning potential that would then allow me to invest larger chunks into the market every year going forward. This plan isn't for everyone. This plan is very specifically just for myself. Everyone's investment plan into themselves or into their future should be individual to who you are and your personality, what risk you're willing to tolerate, but it is not something to be ignored. In the past, I avoided the markets completely because they seemed so complicated, and because I couldn't understand it, that led to a lot of uncertainty. Investing seemed like something for rich people and not for people like me. I also thought of investing in myself completely differently. I took the Instagram model of investing in myself and spent a lot of money on travel, fitness things, and nice food. But as a more financially literate person now, I see that investing in whatever way it's done is the best use of my money, because financially, it really is the only way to grow and expand more. And if you're enjoying this video, if you want to invest further into yourself and into my mission to help educate people on the tools they'll need to start pursuing a life that they actually want and love, I suggest that you check out my newsletter down below. It's a short 1 to 3 minute read of the key points and takeaways from my videos. In the past, when I was learning a lot of these things, I'd sit with a pen and paper and make short notes so I can remember them quickly. And that's what I tried to do with this newsletter. So once again, the link is in the description down below. If you enjoy it, please check it out. Let's get back to the video. Number 9, I never wait until an emergency happens to save for it. I always keep an emergency fund in the event I have to go to the doctor, an important appliance knocks out, or I'm out of a job. At the end of the day, the only thing that's guaranteed is that something will go wrong. So I don't wait until that time to prepare for it. Number 10, I don't look at money as a reward for hard work. In my 20s, I saw my salary as a reward for the hard work I'd put in over a month. The early mornings waking up to go grind doing something I did not want to do meant that my salary was something for me to spend and enjoy myself with. But as I get more financially literate, the less I see money as a reward and the more I see it as a tool or a form of energy. I see now that the amount of effort I put in isn't actually tied to the amount of money I earn. I'm not being rewarded for my hard work with money. The money is the result of the value I've generated doing work. Looking at money through this lens allows me to see more opportunities to generate value. I could buy a home to house people, or give a company money by purchasing stocks, or even purchase peace for myself by paying my bills months in advance, which allows me to have more thinking space. Number 11, I don't give in to FOMO. When I was younger, if someone invited me to an event that I couldn't afford, but a group of people I knew were going, I'd still spend the money to go and try and figure it out after. I remember being invited to this really nice restaurant that I absolutely could not afford. And I still went because I didn't want to miss the event. And I couldn't get myself to enjoy the food because I was so focused on the prices and just how much I could not afford it. And I had to watch everyone else really enjoy the food that they had whilst I struggled to even get the flavor down. Now I know that there's always another event. There's always the next can't miss opportunity, can't miss event. But in reality, I was just robbing myself of both money and happiness. Number 12, I never take out debt to buy something that depreciates in value and doesn't earn an income. That's a double loss to me, because even though it doesn't feel like an asset depreciating is losing money because we can't see it reflected the way we'd see it on a price tag, it objectively costs money every day to maintain something that's continuously being worth less and less. Add the maintenance to the depreciation, then loan repayment, and the fact that it isn't generating any income to help pay for itself, and that works out to about 3 payments I'd be making for something that is continuously losing value. Bonus, I never shy away from money conversations. As life moves me toward more people who are financially literate, I found that they don't have the same guilty or taboo feelings speaking about money that people who are not financially literate do. Before I started studying finances, I found it a lot easier to just move away from money conversations rather than admit I didn't know what was going on. But to get better at something is to spend time engaging with it, engaging with other people about it. And now that I'm aware, I really wish I didn't do that. And instead, I had asked a lot more questions of what does that mean and how did you do that? The main shift I experienced is that I saw money in the past as a measure of my self-worth. But since becoming financially literate, I no longer see it that way. I understand that money is something separately tied from me, which allows me to ironically ask the kinds of questions that will help me continue to make smarter financial decisions. And if you enjoyed this video, I think you'd love this one here that talks about why looking poor is important when building wealth. And as always, thank you for watching.